Greetings, one and all, from what is now a Premier League Hull City podcast. That sounds incredible to say. And so successful were Hull City over the weekend that we've managed to get 6 of us all together in a room at the same time. And coming from all across, not just the UK, but Germany as well. Prutts, we'll start with you, out in Leipzig for the Conference League final. How are you?
I'm good. Just looking over some form of Platts, which the Germans do very well. Yeah, all good. No trouble as yet from what I've seen. Palace fans are behaving themselves, unless I've missed out. But all good. Glad to be back and reveling. And because it's a Premier League podcast now, do we start getting paid? Have we mooted that at all? Or
on that subject, somebody did ask this morning. No. Somebody said this morning, do we get rid of Prutton and sign Keane? Now we're in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, I know my level. You want Michael Dawson, don't you? Do you want to give you Dawson's number? Get him on.
Yes. Kathryn still got the bucket hat on and the wristbands that were given away free at Box Park when we went there on Saturday morning. She looks happy. That's nice, isn't it?
I'm just trying to get over the heat exhaustion I think I had standing in the sun for 45 minutes for that parade, as Steve kept telling us they're coming soon, and I thought someone tell the bus driver to put his foot down because I'm going to go into the bus if they don't come soon. What a few days. I mean, I've sort of started to lose hope in the game, as every player sort of seems to go down with cramp at some point. And I thought, I don't know how much longer I can sort of get through the game, never mind the players. But it was inevitable, wasn't it, that McBurney was going to score? And yeah, I think I nearly fainted during the celebrations, partly because of the heat and just because of the excitement as well. So I'm just about coming back down to earth, I think.
Fantastic. Steve, you had the pleasure of calling the teams out at Wembley, and then again, as Kathryn says, on the balcony, trying to placate the crowd as we were winding through 55,000 miles of city, basically. What was it like?
Well, from my point of view, I was kind of sort of taken aback by the fact that, and I'd not remembered this from the previous 4 times I'd done this, but from what I did to wind the crowd up, etc., I do unbelievably at Wembley rehearse it because we've got to go through it all. But so when I was there at 11 o'clock in the morning doing the rehearsals for all of that, where I was, the city end was in shade. And I thought, oh, this is good, forgetting that later in the day the sun moves and it gets roasting. And I think I got to about five players in, and I really thought I was going to faint. I thought I was going to keel over because all the time the Wembley production crew was saying, oh, yeah, we don't think we've ever had anybody as smart as this. And I woke up in the morning of the game and I thought, no, I bought this suit for today. I'm not wearing this suit. I'm going to wear it, whatever. And that's what I did. And oh my word, I mean, the heat, and of course, everything going on, the excitement, that all builds to it. But from that point of day is incredible. And then I got picked out to do it at the Box Park after the game as well. So I did the stands in the Box Park. Somebody took a video somewhere, which I've seen, which was good. I'd had a couple of beers by then.
We must be in the Premier League because Fletch has come out to say hello. You're right, Fletch?
I'm all right, but I fear that I'll be cut because my level of appearances in the Championship has been too small. So in the transfer,
Glory Hunter. Glory Hunter.
How dare you, Burnsy? How dare you? No, very well. I've recovered from vertigo from being in the highest row of Wembley Stadium, so everyone looked like ants to me. But it was a great day, and I wish we could play at Wembley nearly every week because we seem to win there every time we play there, apart from that one FA Cup game. So yeah, great weekend, and long may it continue into the Premier League.
Burnsy, the introductions are almost over. It's taken 5 minutes. Burnsy, how are we, dear? You were at the parade on Monday as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Any truth in the rumour that the reason it was delayed, the bus, is that the players kept stopping at supermarkets to get more beer? Off licenses?
Well, no? Basically, yes. I mean, they kept every time we stopped.
I'd heard the rumour.
It's true. Every time we stopped, and the bus driver was getting criticised, but people were just diving out in front of the coach and whatnot. But they were trying to pass beers up from pubs and shops and stuff up to the bus, which was incredible. Yeah, so that is true.
Yeah, it was and mentioning Box Park, me, you, and Kathryn and Michael Turner were in there before the game, and a great atmosphere. Thanks to everybody who came, and because we did a sort of live 1904 club, which is the most difficult one I've done, because I was trying to not fall off the stage or not fall off the drum kit that was up my backside behind me, and at the same time trying to hear what everybody else was saying. So it was great. It's been a great few days. It's been absolutely fantastic. My liver and my credit card are both waving the white flag, and it was just a magic. Great credit to them. Can I say at this stage, great credit to everybody at the club. I think the way they've given Spygate and everything that's gone on in the last few weeks, they've handled themselves superbly, both on and off the field. Well done to everybody involved. And the hard work starts now, which I'm sure we'll discuss on this edition of the 1904 Club, because there's loads of messages, a lot of them asking about what happens now, how they improve the infrastructure, what they're going to do financially, what's it worth, and who are they going to buy. So we'll discuss all that across the course of the next 54 minutes. I'm just keeping you to time there, Baz.
Thanks very much. Prutts, the last time I saw you, well, no, actually, the overriding memory I have from Saturday was before the game, you'd done your bit to camera and you'd walk down the touchline. Somebody, one of the ladies from Sky handed you something wide, and you lifted up your top and started rubbing yourself.
Yeah.
Was that an ice block or was it something else?
It was disgusting. It was just tissue. Because I, as much as obviously it's the richest game in football, and with all the attention on it, and I watched the first half with my top off, blow dry my t-shirt in the little bunker that we get our makeup done in. So that had all run off my face, and obviously the fake tan and the Botox never helped. But I was just sat watching the game on my iPad, just in a room going, bloody hell, I'm boiling. So that's how glamorous that is. But no, it was the whole build up to the whole thing was just, and we'll get into the details of it, was great. I saw Burnsy in the flesh. This figure came and loomed over me in the Hilton barn. I thought, oh, here we go. Oh, it's Burnsy. Hello. So I had a chat with him, and Swanee, who again looked like he, in a split second, wants to smash your face in. But I believe that's just the way he rolls, doesn't he? So he's. But no, it was good to see you. It was good to see you. And the whole vibe of the weekend, I thought was just lovely, really lovely. Bumped into people that I'd not seen for a while, and it was just so nicely done. The game will be forever forgettable from a footballing standpoint, but absolutely no worries for that. It had to be Ollie, didn't it, at that most pertinent times, and it was just the atmosphere was incredible. The weather, as Steve was saying, was utterly incredible. And it just felt, given as well, without getting into the minutiae of Spygate, because I've got a feeling that will rumble on. That was the perfect result for Hull City. I think it was also the perfect result for quite a lot of people as well, with regards to how that would have panned out. KB, we talked about this on Saturday about Jakirovic. And for those that don't know, I'm just going to very quickly regale a tale from Friday night. So we were doing it. We were with the BBC Radio Humberside guys on Wembley Way. They were broadcasting live. I was with them and whatnot. And we were sort of on the side of Wembley Way Friday night. And out the corner of my eye, I clocked Sergei Jakirovic walking up with one of his analysts on the other side. If you know where Bread the Head is at the top of Wembley Way, you'll know where I mean. And he hid behind a tree, and he saw us. He hid behind the tree, got his camera out, and then sort of eventually came running across to where we were stood. He filmed us, and he came running across with his camera, with his phone, and saying, "Which one of you am I going to pick to play tomorrow?" And we were having a bit of a laugh about him hiding behind a tree and doing the whole goggles thing and all that sort of thing. And it kind of, from that moment, it stuck with me that he's really relaxed. You know, whatever happens tomorrow, that this is the manager of Hull City in the most valuable game in world football, a promotion final to go into the Premier League. And, you know, the night before the game, he's at Wembley
and he's chilling, he's hiding behind trees, almost like a school kid. And if that was the mentality he'd got, of course his players were going to be relaxed going into the game. And yeah, we know it was a terrible game. That particular game is always awful because there's so much stress, pressure, anxiety, the heat of all of it. 85,000 people. It's always a rubbish game, so we're fine with that. But his team, KB, were relaxed, weren't they? Because of how chilled out the gaffer was.
Yeah, and I mean, the game plan sort of worked to a T, didn't it? I mean, one of my friends was texting me during the game and saying, why is this game being played so slow? Like, why are Hull not kind of attacking? I said, this is kind of how it's been for so many games this season, where we soak up pressure, we let the opposition have the ball, and then if we can get that one chance and break forward, we take it. And as it was rumbling on, I was starting to think we're taking our while to find that one chance to score. But that was, they played the perfect game plan. And yeah, obviously, if Middlesbrough had taken one of their chances, it goes the other way. But he did seem really relaxed, the manager. I mean, he seemed relaxed, in the whole build up to it. Even when we were talking about which team they were going to play, he didn't really get drawn into the fact of. He could have kind of had a go at people in press conferences and whatever, and he didn't kind of make it all woe is me. It was very much focus on the job, and I almost felt like they had that kind of pressure point where they almost kind of lost their cool in the build up to the end of the season when they were trying to get into the playoffs. And it almost feels like once they actually got into the playoffs, that whole weight that they'd been carrying for maybe a few weeks was just taken off their shoulders. And I didn't see any kind of sort of pressure or like strain from them in the playoffs at all. It looked like they'd made it look really easy, even if it wasn't always easy to watch. They made it look like they weren't nervous at all. And I don't know if it's because they'd had that kind of run in into the end of the season and maybe they kind of got over it, or if it is just because the manager is really cool, calm and collected under pressure.
Because there's so many of us this morning, we've got a system in place where you have to put your hand up as if you want to go to the toilet. So Burnsy's just put his hand up in the air. So go on, Burnsy.
Well, for those not watching, I always stick my pen up in the air when I want to make a point. Steve, the Hove Tiger, says another Sergei tactical masterclass versus Borough. Suddenly City have gone from embracing chaos to showing a real tactical discipline and maturity. The back three were flawless in the decision-making and positional awareness on Saturday. Surely this is the blueprint for attacking the Premier League. In terms of what Kathryn was saying, I thought he got it spot on in the first half, where it was going bang on according to plan. But I heard his post-match interviews, and I don't think Prutts was particularly happy with his team's first half performance, was he?
The whole thing, I got back to, completely jumping on Kathryn's take on it, which was the stress levels that are in a game such as that are through the roof. However, City looked really calm and collected, didn't they? The chances, I thought, were kept to a minimum. The want to slow the game. There was at one point in the first half where Luke Ayling was stood with his foot on the ball in the middle of the Borough defence and nothing was really happening. And that was fine for City, wasn't it? That sense of soaking up a bit of, I say pressure. If the opposition centre half stood on the ball 70 yards from your goal, it's not. You're not really having to do anything. Now we looked at a couple of stats before the game, which was in very kind of basic terms. Borough like to have the ball more than Hull City. People going about the XG as well. Lots of facts and stats that you can shove down people's throats because it's about being effective, and that's what City were. Yes, you look at the goalkeeper who should have done better, and you feel for him in a game of that magnitude. But the tactical side of it, which Sergei's got such a great handle on with his team, is fascinating to see. Now, sometimes tactics can be, for want of a better word, boring because it can be about nullifying the opposition, and I think particularly for this, and we because of when the game is, and obviously what the weather's been like, and it's a very British thing to talk about the weather. I understand that people would have been sat in the back gardens or watching it on TV from miles away and reveling in the heat. But just to go back to Steve's point, the actual heat inside the stadium was insane. So to think then that after 48 games of a championship season, you want people to go hell for leather, I think is a little bit fanciful. So when your mates texting Kathryn and say, "What did you mean? Can't they run around a bit more?" No, no. It's me and Steve, like on the side. Like, we looked amazing, Steve, didn't we? We
God, didn't we just?
But,
no, it wasn't just the fact that it was hot. There was no air.
No, not at all. No wind, no air, nothing to get anything to take off.
It was hard to breathe properly as well down there.
Fletch, what was it from a spectator's point of view as well, where you were in Wembley? What was your kind of feeling throughout the game as it wore on? It felt like, obviously, watching from where we were, at pitch side, that City were a bit poor on the ball in the first half, but probably had the best chance with McBurney's header, which it still annoys me they didn't get a corner for. But anyway, but they just played it. Second half, they played it perfectly. They just let Middlesbrough do what Middlesbrough do, just pass around and go nowhere, and then waited for the moment when it came. They took the wingers off, put fresh legs on, got the ball to him, and that's where the goal came from.
Well, the first half, I thought there was only really, 4 or 5 chances in the entire half for both teams, and a couple of them were decent. I think if I was being hypercritical, McBurney should hit the target, one of his, but then I think Strelic should have hit the target at the other end. And they were the only times in that half when I was watching the game, from a Hull City point of view, when Strelic went forward, I thought, oh no, they're in trouble here. But that was the only point in the 90 minutes where I felt relatively relaxed, given Pando's fantastic save in the second half from a tight angle. The flag had already gone up. So otherwise my heart would have been in my mouth at that point. But I think defensively, as people have touched upon, the positioning, when you're up there right at the top, you're almost basically looking down on the pitch as if you're literally on top of it. And you can just see that the positioning of the defenders, in particular in midfield, was superb. They were just tunneling Middlesbrough into positions they probably wouldn't want to go into. And the blocks and interceptions defensively was outstanding. Aaron Paul on 5 Live said that he wouldn't have expected someone like Real Madrid to get through that defence that day, because they were just so still and composed and steady. And they took a chance right at the end. I thought it was going to extra time. I was looking around at my dad and partner just saying, this has got another 30 minutes written all over it. And I don't know how much it plays a part of it, but I actually said when the switched ends, I thought, well, that's going to benefit City in the second half if they're attacking into the shade, because there's obviously a temperature difference depending on how much attacking they do.
And that's why they did that, Fletch. That was a really clever thing from Louis Coyle. He won the toss. And I think a lot of people have said, well, why are you attacking the opposite fans in the second half at Wembley? That was the reason. So that shows another level of planning and calm head, doesn't it, to make that decision, knowing that Middlesbrough have got a history this season, certainly under Hellberg, of the last 10, 15 minutes of falling away, of running out of steam. And City knew that and played it. They played it perfectly.
And that just goes to show, doesn't it, you could say level of homework, but just those little minor details that you wouldn't necessarily think of firsthand that can make such a big difference.
Go on, Burnsy.
Yeah, I was just I was going to go to some of the messages coming in, because we have had loads. Al Kilvo says to us, I've been mulling over the 3 playoff victories. 2008 always felt special, first time and stuff, but this achievement, given everything against us, has blown my mind. What do you all think? Also, I think a good 4 or 5 from Saturday's squad could do a Premier League job. We've had a lot of messages like that. We'll come to it. I'll just mention that. I look back to 2008. Of the 2008 playoff final side, there was 12 involved on the opening day the next season against Fulham. The 2013 promotion side, there was 8 involved on the opening day of the Premier League season from the last game of the Championship season. And the 2016 playoff final winners, there were 11 involved on the opening day of the following Premier League season. So they've talked to following the Sunderland model, haven't they? Sunderland, I think, unless anybody's going to correct me, and feel free to do so, I won't be offended, were fairly ruthless with the way they went about it. They didn't keep many, did they? They spent hugely wisely, and now they're in Europe. But while people will get a chance, I'm sure. Sunderland, I think, were quite ruthless with it in moving people on. Am I right there? Somebody let me know.
Yeah, no, you're right. They were getting buying for the market, buying for the market that you want to stay in, which is absolutely correct. There's a lot to love about the Hull City squad, and there's a romantic side to it. Quite similar, I think, and forgive me, Hull City fans, for this, to Leeds and Marcelo taking them up. Players that, with the greatest respect, and this is absolutely throwing no shade because it's an unbelievable league, that probably wouldn't be bought separately to get there, which is absolutely fine. But if you find your way to get to the Premier League, Lewis played 390 odd games and never in the Premier League. He gets a crack in the Premier League. Ollie McBurney's got more Premier League appearances than anyone that is in the squad. But you look at the players that have got a chance to step up, and I'd be intrigued. Ian Ashby, I know relatively well, who spent a footballing lifetime away from the Premier League. Yet when he got there, did not look out of place in a team which had a sprinkling of foot soldiers like him. And I'm dialing down his impact because he was a towering presence in that City side and the side that got up and stayed up. That these men deserve a chance. I think there's a fine line between the romanticism of it and kind of willing someone to do well because they've done well for you. But there's a hard-headed business side, which, having seen Ajan, his ability to adapt and his ability to make decisions and what Sergei wants from his side, I think there might be a bit of both. It depends, obviously, monetary-wise, what is available and what can be used. But I don't think there'll be wholesale changes, but given how, very boringly, lucrative the Premier League is, to go up there and not give it your absolute best with regards to the personnel you've got would be foolish.
KB, they will invest, won't they? We know that. The owner isn't going to rest on his laurels. But it feels like, as Prutts made the point there, that pound for pound, we had this conversation yesterday. You look at like how many City players would have got in the West Ham team that have just been relegated. And that's an interesting question, but equally, in some ways unfair as well, because what City have got is a really close-knit group of men that know how to operate, and they're not going to go up and try and be possession-based like Southampton and go, yeah, but we've made 8,000 passes in the game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, we've lost 7-0, but we've still had 8,000 passes. They're going to go up and be effective at what they do. And when you look at like how effective Forest were last season with sitting in, almost in what City have done this season in the Championship, sitting in, being tight, being compact, when they get the ball, expand quickly on the counter-attack. And that is the sort of kind of the way that they can operate. And with they're going to need, we know they're going to need to sign players. We know they're going to need to sign good quality players that can make a difference. But there are players in that squad that we know that the manager can get the best out of, and that give them the chance, and they could surprise one or two.
Yeah, I think there's definitely players that maybe we go up and they're not going to play every game, but I think that's where you have to establish the role of each player in the squad that does stay. I think the biggest question marks over whether players that may no longer be here next season are the ones that have struggled with injuries, and that's why you also need a big squad. I mean, that's why it's also remarkable that how they've managed to get up this season, because the number of injuries they've had has just been so large. And there are a few in there that you look at and you think, can you rely on them being fit for the majority of next season? And you'd have big question marks about some of them. I mean, I think Cody Drame is somebody that there's a reason clubs in a Premier League have looked at him, and he's clearly a good player. And I think when he has played this season, he's actually been pretty good. He has the odd moment of lapse in concentration, but I actually think that run that he had in the team, he was brilliant. But you look at him and you can't rely on him being fit when he's been here, unfortunately. And that's the question mark you'd have over him. And I'd say talent-wise, you think, yeah, actually, I could see him playing in the Premier League. But how often is he going to be available? It's the same with Semi Ajayi. I thought Ajayi, at Millwall away and at Wembley as well, 2 really good performances. Again, he has the odd moment. But can you rely on him being fit? And I think those are the questions the club have to ask. Whereas I think the core group that have been, fit for the majority of the season, which was most of the starting 11 on Saturday, I think you have to keep that core group together. And it's about, as you say, kind of what players can add to it. And like I say, there'll be some players that might just relish the chance of, okay, I'm maybe not going to play every single game in the Premier League, but I'm going to have a role to play and I'm going to be part of the squad and I am going to play. I just might not play every single minute. Whereas if I played in the Championship, I would play every single minute. And that's the kind of decision they have to think about as well. And you just have to trust the recruitment team and the manager for making those decisions. I think I'm a lot more relaxed about how the club goes about their business, having seen what they've done in the last 2 transfer windows with the restrictions they've had. I think you have to put your faith in Jared Dublin, who has done a really good job, Martin Hodge as well. Since they've been at the football club, they've made some really, really good decisions. Yes, it's another level when you go up to the Premier League, but you just have to put your faith in them that they will make the right decisions, and also the manager will, be able to make it work as well.
Steve, before Fletcher, I'm coming to you next. Steve, that this is a special group, isn't it? It's kind of one of those things where the collective is so impressive, is so strong, and we saw that like just on Monday on the balcony, just how close knit this group is.
Yeah, and before they actually appeared on the balcony as well, but at the top there, out of view of the thousands and thousands of people that were there, you saw just how bonded they were. It was different circumstances, of course. I'm winking as I'm saying this, but a lot of fun there. But all cuddling each other, holding each other, talking to each other. It's a proper special bond, and I've said this throughout the season as well. Whenever they've been away as a collective and done things, whether it's holding football sessions, doing things out of hours, visiting children in hospital, that kind of thing, from the videos that you see and the photos that make it onto social media, there seems to be this kind of bond between them, and they look as though they're interested and that they want to be there and they want to do all of these extracurricular things. And I think that they've worked hard, they've played hard, and they've deserved everything. And you can genuinely tell that there's affection for all of those players in that group. And I can't recall ever it being like that before. It's brilliant.
Just quickly, if you happen to be listening from Las Vegas up to the 1904 Club, please do either don't go out for the next couple of days, or if you are out, look after them, because they've had a heavy couple of days and they're now going to be in Las Vegas, some of them. So please look after them. We need them for next season.
It's number one on your bucket list, isn't it? Go to Las Vegas and listen to the 1904 Club. Top of the list.
We're big on the
goes
strip.
on in
Burnsy.
Vegas stays in Vegas. Ooh.
We're big on the strip. What can I say?
Club.
Fletch, come on. It's in your cupboard. Come on.
Who do I think they'll sign? I can imagine.
I didn't ask that, but go ahead anyway.
No, I'm just following on from the discussion.
About it.
Just following on from the discussion, I think that there's probably about 8, 9, 10 players in there that will have a significant part from this Championship season into the Premier League, and I do wonder how they're going to attack it, because the success stories of people like Bournemouth and Brentford, who are the clubs with low attendances, small stadiums, who've got data-driven policies and lots of analysts. So they're going to have to factor that in as well when it comes to this big pot of money. Because, a lot of, might come to this in a bit, but, there's a lot of talk about how the training ground isn't up to scratch. So these kind of things as well need to be considered in as well when they make this jump into the Premier League. And then, you look at players that they're going to sign, some of the, the Forest model where they spent over 20 players, did the job for Nottingham Forest. I wouldn't be at all surprised if City go down that route, to be brutally honest. And some of the players they might try and lure in, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they went after someone like Fabio Carvalho again, or even Andy Robertson as the most ambitious, and probably go for someone who shines unexpectedly at the World Cup, or they might go and get 1 or 2 of Turkey's top internationals. There's so much different opportunity. The market for them is massive now that they're in the Premier League. They can basically, I think what restricted Adjan previously is he wanted to try and sign the big brash signings in the Championship, but there was those restrictions financially. But I don't think there's any harm in the fact that this year they've been blinkered like a racehorse, haven't been able to spend anything. It's actually been successful. So I think
it's got them promoted. Being able
it's got them promoted.
Signing those types of players, McBurney's, Egan's, Crooks, obviously Lundstrom's not featured as much, but those, Paddy McNair's another one, I think, Shemi Ajayi, that's what's got them promoted, though.
Exactly. But I think, can they utilise the free agent market again? I think it'll be more difficult this year, but we'll wait and see.
Fletch has basically just said they're going to sign Arda Güler. So, Burnsy, top that.
No. All I was going to say is I hope we're not following the Forest model. We don't need 4 managers a season, do you?
Got into a European semi-final, Burnsy. I mean, it's not terrible.
Yes, still don't want any of that. I think that the manager's really stable, by the way. And I mean, they've all seemed to be talking about the Sunderland model, haven't they? And their recruitment was really clever. I presume data-driven and everything like that. But as you'll know better than us, because you know what's going on. What are they expecting to get financially? And we've got lots of questions about, are the club going to invest in the infrastructure? They're going to have to do stuff at the stadium ahead of the season. How much will be left to invest in the squad? I read something from Henry Winter at the weekend. He was doing a bit of maths, just talking about Sunderland. And of the 14 involved that actually played against Chelsea in the last game, it had cost Sunderland 106 million. And only 3 of them in that squad were there before sort of they got promoted to the Premier League. So that's a rough indication of what you might need to spend. What have they got to spend? What are the plans, Baz? Can you give us any insight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's widely accepted they're going to have to spend an awful lot of money to be competitive, and they're not going to go up and do what Middlesbrough did a few years ago and just be limp and spend nothing. So they'll spend, it wouldn't surprise me if they spent, upwards of 80, 90 million. Genuinely, I mean that. They obviously get an awful lot of money from being promoted. And
they players.
Yeah. Well, obviously that includes, that's the whole package, isn't it? That's not just transfer fees, that's signing on fees and wages and things. But they are going to have to spend an awful lot of money. I know that figure sounds mental, but that's where you're at. You look at Sunderland spent an awful lot of money. Forest did. Leeds have spent not a huge amount, but Leeds still spent money, and they need to do that. But they're also acknowledging the fact they've got a really good core of players. They've got Charlie Hughes that could have sold to Coventry last summer. That keeping him now looks like an inspired decision, because they could have sold him for 12, 13, 40 million pounds. Now they're going to bank the best part of 200 by keeping him. They've got a goalkeeper that could have gone. They've got Balumi. They've got Miller. They've got good players. McBurney. There's a lot of good players in there that they can still get the best out of. And I think that will be key to their success. But they're going to have to sign players. They're going to have to strengthen. You look at what Sunderland did with Granit Xhaka. That was an inspired decision. Signing him, who'd got a huge amount of Premier League and international experience. He's an absolute leader. And it not only did that have a massive impact on their dressing room, but it also set the tone to bring other players in as well. So I think they'll go down that line. I'm not saying they're going to sign Andy Robertson, but somebody like him would be absolutely crucial. Somebody that can come in and give them the experience, settle them down, inspire the players that are already there, but also be a big carrot for other players. So it's going to be fascinating to see what they do in terms of the infrastructure. They've got a lot of work they need to do to the stadium. I know they've got a meeting with the Premier League this week to go through stuff. They've got to do, like, the media facilities have got to be completely revamped. The media facilities are well, we all know what they're like. They're basic. They've not been upgraded. They just haven't been upgraded. So that is the amount of work that they've got to do there is significant. The pitch will need a huge amount of investment, because you can't be in the Premier League and have the problems they had on the pitch like from November to February. That is just not going to be acceptable. So that they've got to do that. So there's a lot of work within the stadium they're going to have to do. The training ground, we spoke to Jared just before the end of the season, and he talked that if they did get promoted, they would look, rather than bringing the academy to the MKM Stadium site, they were looking at creating a whole new academy and training centre at a brand new site, So you'd have you'd have a brand new training ground and academy. I mean, obviously that's a longer term project, but that is the sort of legacy project they want to leave from the Premier League. Whether they're in the Premier League for 1 year or 10 years, we've always said this: there was no legacy from the Elam ownership. You went to the MKM Stadium or you went to the training ground, you'd never have believed that Hull City had been in the Premier League in the last 20 years. It was a real shame. I think there is a massive desire within the football club now, from the owner downwards, to make sure that Hull City are future proof. That Hull City, however long their stay is in the Premier League, and we hope it's indefinite, but we also have to be realistic. It's going to be hard, but if you're in there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, that you have something to show for it for the future. So you are set up going forward.
But having said that, on the training ground, somebody made this the point on the Twitter to the 1904 club. Everybody bangs on about the training ground, and I accept it, but it's produced four sides that have got promotion. Yeah. I think I'm right in saying that. 4 sides now that have got promotion to the Premier League. A side that's got into Europe and a side that's got into the FA Cup final. So
I think
maybe in some perverse fashion, it's worked. Prutts, you were going to
I get that, but I'm absolutely on board with that, because it's almost that kind of what Hull City is as an entity and as a city, literally, is that kind of togetherness of we'll show the rest of the world what we're about. That's what it sounds like, and part of that is that unique way of doing it. The other strand to looking at that, and it's just come to my head as Baz was talking there, we look at these 3 playoff final wins and City having the ability to do that, and it's going to be an indelible part of what Hull City's history is. But there's a bit of a sliding doors moment here, and I don't envy the people in the position that have to make this decision, because it could be the waves of it could go for years and years. Hull City, without being too fanciful, need to look at Brentford, need to look at Bournemouth, need to look at Brighton, not just teams beginning with B, but that what they've done, which is climb into the Premier League and become part of the Premier League. They are wonderful examples of football clubs and how you run them, from recruitment. You look at what their training grounds are like, and you look at the stadiums and how they've been updated, and obviously Bournemouth is slightly different, but their model of being able to, first and foremost, get very, very good managers, also develop very, very good players. So the next port of call is the infrastructure that Baz talks about and the future proofing, which is it, and it's got to be kind of a many kind of not a spinning plates approach, so you lose track of certain ones, but infrastructure comes from the ability to generate money. You get good players that come through either the ranks or good signings that it's mutually beneficial for City and for when they sell them on. Therefore, more money comes back into the pot, which then goes into stadiums, pitches, the academy. It's a real kind of jump off point here for an ownership that seems, I think going back to Steve's point and the team, really engaged about what they want to do. It doesn't strike me that Ashen wants to go anywhere anytime soon. Now, he's put a lot of money in already. Part of that, I presume, as a businessman, you think, thank God, I'm going to get something back. But the allure and the glamour of what the Premier League is has to be run parallel with, it's a great word, Baz, future-proofing what Hull City are. You know what I mean? We don't want to be sat here in 10 years' time, just in general, but we don't want to be sat here in 10 years' time with City having gone up to the Premier League, bounced into the champ, bounced into League One, climbed out again, gone up again, bounced up. It would be amazing, wouldn't it? It would be a proper generational change if we were talking about a City side that was properly part of an established middle order in the Premier League because of what they did with funds and future planning and forward thinking that really set the football club up, which I think in turn would be phenomenal for the city as a whole, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Fletch, before I come to you, Fletch, you were obviously at City with when Liam Rossini was the manager, and Liam always said there was a lot of criticism about the training ground. You go on social media, we've had it this season, people every time you see the facade of the training ground, people are laughing, and you're like, well, actually, that training ground's just got Hull City promoted. Leicester City have got one of the best training grounds in European football, and they're in League One. Liam Rossini always used to say, in response to the training ground. It's the people. It's not the buildings. It's the people within it, and that's always stuck with me. And I think he's right. And look, what you can't see, what the public don't see, is the club have invested a lot in Cottingham. There's a lot of buildings at the back of the training of the facility, behind the facade. You know, they've improved that. There's going to be an awful lot more improvements made this summer. They've got to improve. They've got one room up currently for media, and it's the same room that the team have meetings in. Well, that's not going to. You can't do that in the Premier League, because the amount of media commitment in the Premier League is exponential. So they're going to have to improve that. They're going to have to create a designated media space at the training ground. So the media will be there. So often you can't be having player meetings. We've had it this season where we've had press conferences scheduled, and they've been delayed a couple of hours because the drug testers are there from UK Sport, and they're doing the drug testing in the media room that is also doubles up as a meeting room for the players for their analysis. So there's a lot of work that will be done this summer to improve the current state, the current site, I should say. But that obviously the longer term plan is to have a bespoke site, and that is the right thing to do. That is the legacy. Fletch, what were you going to say?
Well, I agree with you on what Liam said in that it's the people within it, and the example that I was going to use was Leicester City, 85 million quid facility, and they'll be preparing to play Bromley in it rather. But without all due respect to Bromley, the question I was going to put in terms
Bromley
of potential and what we've
in a
heard
whole
so
city
far.
pod. Bloody hell.
Shout out to Notts County as well, who got back into League One. Chuff for the
Indeed.
Pies, who will be playing Leicester.
The point I wanted to make is now for the potential of Hull City. We've seen it before when they were sponsored by McVitie's. The people that Adrian Ilagella can now bring into the football club and the investment that he can bring in. What could that look like in the short term and the long term, Baz?
Yeah, I think you've raised a good point, and it's something that we need to keep an eye on. Obviously, Adrian had Mura Oka, the McVitie's man at the club, at Wembley, one or two other high-profile Turkish businessmen at Wembley. I think that's always been difficult with being in the Championship, is getting the amount of money that potentially somebody like Oka would like to invest is hard in the Championship, because with respect, the EFL are looking at it and going, "What you want to invest 30 million quid on to sponsor a ball? That's not market value." I think in the Premier League there'll be more scope. The response in Turkey has been unbelievable. That's only going to grow, and I think from a Hull City point of view, the commercial opportunities now from a European angle will be massive, and that from a PSR point of view, I think investment in the stadium, investment in training grounds and facilities and bricks and mortar, essentially under PSR and the financial rules in the Premier League, will help the football club. So it's definitely something that we need to keep an eye on over the next few months. The Turkish influence, the business influence, I think is going to be potentially, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that is an avenue. Now they are a Premier League football club. By the way, how amazing does that sound? Hull City, a Premier League football club again. That commercial opportunity is going to be significant, yeah.
I enjoyed Adrian's speech on the parade, because I stood next to my dad, and my dad turned to me and said it was like a presidential address, the way he was speaking to the people, and they were cheering back. And he could have said anything really, and people would have cheered back at him. So I also enjoyed him saying, "I come from a beautiful country, and you are all beautiful people." And I thought, do you mean every single person in this crowd? I thought that was great. It's the last time we got promoted to the Premier League, the fan base was divided. They weren't. The fans and the owners were not aligned. You couldn't really celebrate it as much. You couldn't get excited, because just after we'd won that playoff final, we had the whole kind of thing with Steve Bruce leaving and not spending any money. That pre-season photo in Austria, I think it was, which has sort of gone down in history, and you sort of felt like, well, we are just going to immediately come straight back down, because the owners, they don't really care, and you couldn't really get excited about a season in the Premier League. Whereas at this time, yes, you don't know it's going to be hard, and you don't know what's going to happen, but at least you've got the ownership and the fans aligned and together, and you can really kind of get excited about it and celebrate it. And that's when you're sort of like listening to it on the balcony, it's just sort of like, as mad as it kind of was, you were sort of like, this is brilliant. Like, we can finally get excited about having a season in the Premier League and properly going for it. And I know people have already started saying we're not going to beat Derby's points total. It started about 5 minutes after we won the game on Saturday. Well, they're just going to come straight back down, which I also think that they'll relish because they've had a season of doing that, and that's absolutely fine. I've bookmarked quite a few tweets to go back to at the end of next season, just in case. Like 3 of them on Sunday, and I've just bookmarked them all. And I might not go back to them if we do go down, but if we do stay up, I will be returning to them. And they'll enjoy having that underdog tag, and they'll embrace it. And it's just a nice position to be in, where you can look forward to a Premier League season rather than kind of 10 years ago, that celebration that we had at Wembley was quickly kind of dampened by everything that happened afterwards.
I'm conscious that, Burnsy, just very quickly, I'm conscious that we haven't got a huge amount of time, and there's so much we want to cover. Obviously, we've got time over the course of the summer to go into more detail on players' futures, what they should do in terms of transfers. I know everybody wants to know about transfers, but before I go any further, Prutts, you had the gaffer on your coverage on Saturday. You had the owner as well, and just on the final point on the owner, he's obviously invested an awful lot of money. It's not always gone how he would have liked. He's taken a huge amount of criticism for some decisions. Obviously, he admitted himself that he lost focus last year when he became VP at Fenerbahce, and then when he left Fenerbahce after the City's near brush with relegation, he's come back and he's been a lot more. His focus has been 100% on Hull City. This is huge for him, isn't it? A huge kind of moment for the owner to get this reward.
I think we forget as well about owners, which always endlessly fascinates me, because from the outside looking in, you always kind of think, if I'd have made that much money, would I be wonderfully bonkers enough to buy a football team? And we all kind of go, nah, you wouldn't do it. But these men, I'm here with Palace, and there's a strain between Glasner and the ownership, isn't there? You look at the disparity between the fans at Leicester, who 10 years ago were Premier League champions, and they couldn't have been any closer. You look at what Evangelos Marinakis has done at Nottingham Forest. You look at Ajan and City, and we get it. If it's your football club, if you are a Hull City fan, you're kind of saying, well, you've literally bought into us. Now you've emotionally got to buy into the club as well, and therefore just keep writing checks. Well, what was it? Was it to the tune of about £500,000 a month that was going in? And that's just a mind-boggling amount of money to just to write off and go, well, yep, keep going. And you just think, and as fans, and I think it's absolutely, and it's absolutely acceptable. This is me not judging a football fan for it. It then just becomes an expectation. Well, he owns a football club, so he should do that. That should be the case. We need money. It should be the case. The other side of that is you look at what Chansiri did with Sheffield Wednesday, where he's literally berating the fans for not putting their hands in the pockets. So the PR tightrope that you got to walk is a tough one. But I think he's been wonderful for the city and for the football club, and he will quite rightly relish his time in the spotlight. I mean, given the character that he is as well, he's no wallflower, is he, Ajan? He's front and centre to what this part is. And again, that is another tightrope to that it's about what he does for the football club, not about Ajan's Hull City. It's Hull City owner who does the right things at the right time and leads the club in the right way with the right people in charge. So he kind of said, chatting with us, he understands that wrong decisions were made, but he also said as well, which I think is pretty true. He said he's quite open to then admitting those and making changes, isn't he? You look at the managers that were in post last season, and they just seem, I say last season before the ones just finished, they just seem a world away from what he got from Sergei. Sometimes some of it is alchemy, where you get the right man at the right time with the right squad of players, going back to Steve's point about how together they are. But he's got to take a lot of credit for somebody coming in, such as Sergei, with no history of English football and doing what he's done. So fast forward 6 months without being too cynical, if City are ensconced in the bottom three and the players that have come in are just kind of maverick ones from the continent that have done nothing and maybe upset the rhythm, then maybe he finds himself in a different position. But right now is a bit of a sweet spot for him, which he quite rightly should enjoy. but there is some serious work to do. He also said, chatting on the coverage, he said, I'm going to tell you something in confidence now. And I kind of said to him, flippantly as I can be, I said, well, you're about to say it on telly in front of however many people are watching, and the fact that it won't be confidential anymore. I said about Hull City's bonus schedule, which was one of the largest in the Championship, which is either a masterstroke of motivation or a glaringly poor administration error, isn't it? We're going to go, oh, wow, you actually done the thing that I never thought in a million years you would do together in the nicest possible way. But it's a tremendously motivating factor. And the glory of the Premier League is totally a footballing one for every little person's dream that wants to do it. But this is life-changing financial situations these players find themselves in. And again, that's an extra layer of motivation going into the Premier League to stay there. Your market value, your market rate, without being too cynical, now goes up. You work from there now. So whether you achieve something with Hull City or you move to a club within the Premier League or you move to a club in the Championship that's pushing for promotion because on your CV it says you know how to do that, changes lives. And Ashton's just got to be fully focused within his massive business empire on what City want. And as we've all said, trusting the people that he's put in post to do it. The likes of Lodgy and Jared Dublin and first and foremost Sergei, who again spoke to us and seems so very comfortable and confident of his roles. He talked about recruitment of next season. He said, well, leave it to the people that are there for it. And I said, oh, well, does that mean that you're all on the same page? He said, yeah. So broadly, I'm not saying he gets players where they go, this is yours now, train him. But he's on board with what they want and they're all on the same page. And the longer that goes, the better it sets City up going into next season.
Absolutely. Burnsy, sorry, I interrupted you about 15 minutes ago.
No, I can't remember what I was going to say. I'm conscious. Steve, have you nodded off in the corner there?
Heat stroke.
I'm still here.
Yeah. Do you get a gold microphone next season?
Well, not in previous years, I haven't, but that's a nice touch.
Why? Because Baz, when you do realise the media facility's been redesigned, Baz is going to have a throne up there in the new press box with cushions.
Stop it!
And a little mini bar and things like that, aren't you, Baz? You deserve it, son. You deserve
a coffee machine.
Shall I read out?
If anybody's listening from the club, a coffee machine like they've got at Norwich would be unbelievable, or like they've got in the canteen, coffee machine in the press room at the MKM. That's all we want, just a nice cup of coffee.
Right, Baz, with the greatest respect to Norwich, like Hull City have got promoted, and that's what you're aiming for. That's the barometer of success. It's not the cheese. It's not the cheese board at Stamford Bridge. It's the coffee machine at Norwich. This is
lovely coffee though.
You know what? You know what the press are like, Prutts. I can always remember last time in the Premier League there was lots of cold beer in the fridges, and it was noticeable how many press rucksacks after a game were much heavier than when they came into the game.
On the way out.
All these press guys clanking out like
you went through 4 or 5 bags, didn't you, Burnsy?
No, shopping bags full of beer.
I just stayed in there.
Mike White's probably waiting for the joke here, but Mike, I'm going to leave you out of this one. Go on, Burnsy.
Yeah. Richard Heath says, bigger achievement than 2008, in my opinion. Felt at times everyone had forgotten about us. Written off at every point throughout the season. Consistently referred to as a great group of men. They typified this city. Georgie Bell says, what will the recruitment budget be this summer? And will Murat Ulkar get involved in more than just sponsorship? Well, we've sort of answered that already.
He could play up front, I suppose.
Harry Bullyman says, in terms of investment within the club, he wanted to know about the infrastructure. We've discussed that. JP Considine says he reckons we need to sign at least 10 players who could start in the Premier League, but maintain the biggest strength of the squad, which is what we've touched on, the camaraderie, which is a tough ask. But I presume they will do some character analysis on the players they want to sign so they fit in the dressing room. Steve, do you detect that? I'm conscious you are sitting there sort of quietly at the moment.
I'm enjoying listening to the conversation. It's like being a viewer of the podcast anyway. It's just I keep forgetting that I'm in it.
Sorry about that.
No, not at all. No, I mean, I know that we do, obviously you talk about particularly with Brighton and Bournemouth and Brentford and the data and everything that now is such a big part of signing players. Of course, the characters are play such a big part these days as well. And it's funny as well with some of the loan signings we got in January. Sometimes you see that in clubs and the players seem a little bit facially lost. But I don't think that happened at all with anybody that came in. You straight away, relaxed smiles, relaxed demeanors. They obviously fitted in, handshakes when they come on as substitutes. And I think, like you're alluding to, it's a huge part now. You've really got to fit in. You've seen so many horror stories, particularly in the Premier League, of players who suddenly become far too big for the boots, cause huge disruption in the dressing room. And it's something that I'm sure the current manager will not tolerate at all. It would be stamped down on the merest hint that it's going to start. But I genuinely believe that of the players that have been mentioned between us today and those that we've all got in our heads on the kind of like a wish list, all of them are thoroughly decent gentlemen and would fit right into that dressing room.
Can I make one point, because I'm conscious of the time, and this sort of occurred to me. Are they going into the Premier League at a good time? Because it seems to me there are a lot of Premier League clubs in a state of flux. Quite a few without a manager, quite a few that have just got managers, or a couple like Spurs and what have you. There seems a lot of teams in a little bit of turmoil. Kathryn, do you sense that? Is that a reasonable point?
Yeah, I think so, and I think Leeds and Sunderland staying up is something that can give promoted teams hope, because we did have quite a few seasons where the three teams that went up went straight back down, and I think two of the three going up this season and staying there is a positive thing for the three clubs coming up this season. And yeah, I think we saw it. I know Forest did obviously survive in the end, but like sometimes you get European football, you can then be dragged into a relegation battle for quite a lot of the season. And you look at someone like Bournemouth, and we know how well run Bournemouth are, and you sort of think, well, they shouldn't really get dragged into a battle next season, but how are they going to cope with playing 2 games a week, and then they've got to look for a new manager as well. So there's definitely teams in that league that can get drawn in, and I think the biggest one is, and while you're probably not expecting Tottenham to kind of struggle again next season, I mean, and the fact that West Ham went down as well, nobody's safe in that league. I actually think you see even Man United the season before being 15th, like no one's too big to go down. I think that this season's kind of shown that no one's too big to get drawn into a battle. And that can only be a positive thing for us and for the other two teams that have come up as well.
Fletch, a couple of things before we finish. Fletch, the Premier League media are going to love Sergei, aren't they? He is fantastic. Prutts, I'll come to you in a bit on this as well, but Fletch has been a breath of fresh air for the whole city, for the club, for the Championship. And I feel like as the season's kind of gone on, and obviously the focus is increased on Hull City around the playoffs and the final, that more people are taking notice of just what a funny guy he is now, wonderful he is to talk to.
Yeah, he is it. I mean, when you asked him about how many tickets he had, and he said, I've got 70 because I'm rich. Just doesn't faze him in any way, shape or form. So yeah, I'm rich. I can do it. It goes back to the point of where he was hiding behind a tree. It's just he's so calm, and he doesn't really feel the pressure, does he? As he hasn't this season anyway, and he's going to relish the opportunity to be in the Premier League. But he has so many traits, doesn't he? I think you could pick a player up and put them on the clothes peg if they need dressing down or anything. You can tell that he's got that assertiveness in the dressing room as well. And I think there's trust, obviously, between Adrian and him, that he's able to change tactically as well. Because, right back at the beginning of this conversation, we was talking about how well defensively they were, and they've kept 3 clean sheets in the playoff places, in the playoff campaign. There's an adaptability to change, and that was the one thing that I was fearful of before Sergei came in, is if Hull City ever got to the Premier League, would they have someone as a manager who was one-dimensional? I look at people like Scott Parker, for example, who struggled at Burnley this year, Russell Martin at Southampton, just as a couple of examples. But I think there's an adaptability to change, which, to couple with how he conducts himself in the media, Baz, I think is a really good package. And I'm really, really happy for him, because it's been a great ride this season with him in charge.
I thought he was a really good judge of character, Sergey, and then he messaged yesterday to say that David Prutts was a legend.
Has he lost his marbles already? He's just lovely, and we're talking about it from quite a personal note, aren't we? And there's managers that look like they enjoy all aspects of it. There's managers that look like they suffer the media. There's managers that look kind of caught in the headlights when it comes to chatting. It's by no means the most important part. I think it's a big factor, that PR exercise of getting people on board for when inevitably there'll be a lean portion of the season next season, and there'll be a certain section of City fans that wouldn't give a whatever about how charming or genial and chatty he is. They'll just be looking at what he's doing on the pitch. And I get the feeling that Sergey knows that. We've said it on here before, that chatting to him, that appreciation of what not just Championship football in England is, but what Hull City are as an entity, that you sense the pride in the man that had the chance to be able to do that. Now, I think if we're looking at hopefully a nice rosy period for Hull City with a very good manager, there is an element of, if he does really well, then that becomes a different discussion, doesn't it? If he suddenly becomes a manager that people look at and think, wow, it might have come in a little old Hull City, but suddenly we're looking at a man's career take off because he's very good at his job, then that's mutually beneficial for City. If he does a cracking job with them and big European teams, and I think City fans would forgive me for not necessarily saying that in a sense about what Hull City are, but if they're looking at it, it'll be mutually beneficial that Hull City are part of his journey. But that's what it needs to be now. Hull City needs to be a destination for players and personnel in this kind of incarnation, and he's done that. And again, like I said, he's great company. That presence that he's got, that Fletch talks about, which is the confidence of a man that is 6.5 foot tall and looks like he could rip a phone book in half. Maybe there is an element of that, but confidence and composure in knowing that he's good at his job, and the job that he's done has been a good one. And he said it really well, didn't he, on the balcony, saying he promised to keep Hull City in the Championship and he failed. It was such a great line. It's such a great line, and delivered so well. And we forget sometimes, don't we, about what people come into this country, not just in football, but in life in general, where there's an assumption that because we're English or British or whatever, that I've just gone to get a coffee round the corner and attempted not even GCSE German to get a coffee, and just a blank expression, and just went English. I said, yeah. I said, do you want a coffee? I said, yes, please. I'm so sorry, my German's terrible. But
did you ask for a dog? Did you end up asking for a dog or something?
Yeah, it wasn't in. I mean, it was quite a dodgy establishment. I don't think they sold coffee at that time before.
Oh, don't get Baz on the coffee again.
yeah. Was it bean to cup? But
You're a child, you are.
It's terrible, isn't it? But the nuances of what of particularly British humour is, he's got, hasn't he? And it's his second language. And we want. I mean, we can speak to British managers that give you nothing. And don't seem to get that maybe a bit of a lightness of touch and a bit of Mickey taking or a bit of sarcasm can get you far. But Sergey seems to have done that. But I think he will be well balanced enough to know that for all the smoke and the plaudits and everything that's getting blown his way, and absolutely deservedly and quite rightly so, and he's got to revel in what this moment in the sunshine is, he understands that the next port of call is, you know what I mean, he's climbed Everest, got to the top, planted his flag, and then looked behind him and gone, oh, bloody hell, there's another one just as big. And you've got to climb that now. And his next job will have to be nothing short of miraculous to make sure City stay in the division.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we're running out of time. So to finish, and I'm conscious that there's loads of other questions, there's loads of other topics to talk about. We can't cram it all in and do it justice in one episode. Obviously, we've got plenty more to come over the next few weeks. I want to finish by asking everybody. We were all lucky enough to be at Wembley on Saturday, and some of us were lucky enough to be at the parade on Monday. Well, what day is it today? Wednesday. At the parade on Monday. So I just want to go around everybody and just get one final thought of what the weekend has meant for you. Kathryn, I'll start with you. What did being at Wembley? We were at Box Park. That was amazing. Thanks to the club for sorting that out. And then obviously the game and the whole weekend. What has it meant to you?
I'd just like to say I don't like the people that booed the Telegraph when Burnsy said where. Apart from that, I think it was in jest. But apart from them, yeah, I think it just meant so much to everyone that was in that stadium. I think it makes you emotional, kind of thinking about what the team's been through, what the club's been through, and you think about getting relegated during COVID and then getting promoted during COVID and not really kind of being able to sort of properly process all of that and the kind of crazy journey that we've been on. And I think I looked down at those players at full time and thought, this is just a great group of people. And I felt similar in 2008, but I just think what they've been through and what the fans have been through over the last years, it just kind of, I managed to avoid kind of shedding any tears, but it did kind of make you feel, really quite emotional. And before, I know I'm kind of waffling, but I just wanted to say this before we finish. Just to say, like, what a great job you've done, Baz, all season covering the club, because, I know how difficult it is working this job. It's long days, it's long nights. But I think everyone that reads your work knows how much you care about the club. And I think as fans, and when I read it, it makes such a difference to people. And I think there's a lot of people that appreciate the work and the hours that you put in. So I'm sure everyone else does a good job as well, but I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. That's incredible.
Lovely.
That's very emotional. Thank you, and thanks to so many people that have come up. We just care. We love it. We love the club. We care, and we want to do the best we can to give the fans the best experience possible, the best coverage. Read the most stories, interviews. We just care. We're just fans. So, but that means a lot, KB. Thank you so much, Steve. You've been at Wembley before with City. You were, as I said at the top of the show, you were pitch side on Saturday. You were on the balcony with the players, with Ajun, with the gaffer on Monday. Tell me what that meant to you.
It still blows my mind. I went to my first City game at the very end of the 1970s. Been going ever since. If you'd have told the schoolboy who used to get the free tickets from Annaby School to be able to go South Stand on a Saturday or a Tuesday night, that not only would the team I was watching at Boothbury Park end up playing at Wembley not once but 5 times, and I would be a part of it, a very small part of it, but being asked if I would read the team out at Wembley and then end up on the balcony. And fair play to everybody at Hull City Council as well for such short notice, getting everything done in such that short space of time over that 48 hours less from Saturday to Monday. It just, blows my mind. And to see all of those people below on the balcony and in the stands at Wembley from Hull, black and amber everywhere, it just absolutely blows my mind. And I still think that when I retire and I sit down in my big chair and I start telling people all about it, it still won't even have sunk in then, I don't think.
Absolutely. Fletch?
I'm someone who loves nostalgia, and going into the playoff campaign and just couldn't stop thinking about what happened in 2008 and how groundbreaking it was, and 2016, how much it was needed to get the club back in the Premier League. And like Steve said, like my origins of Hull City was, going to watch them play in the old, what is now League Two, like 0-0s against York City in mist and fog, and never thinking that Hull City would ever get to this kind of stature. And without being too soppy, I'm more happy for people like my dad and his friends who've gone and paid money for decades, and to see him crying at Wembley again was what filled my heart back up with black and amber, because I know how much it means to him. And it filled my heart back up again, given I commentated for the club for so long. Going home and away and being able to step away from it actually helped me this year, because it helped put that love and spirit back in for me. And I've been able to enjoy it as everyone else has in this room, and obviously those who pay the money to go and watch them when they don't necessarily have to. And the final point I'll make before I hand over to Burnsy is I'm really glad for you and Joe this year in doing the commentary this year, because I think you've been excellent, and I'm glad. I know you've done the Premier League, Burnsy, but I'm delighted for Joe, because he worked so hard behind the scenes, and now he gets the chance to hold a microphone at places like Old Trafford, Anfield, he's at Wembley, of course, the Etihad, and you deserve it.
Yeah,
Burnsy,
whereas
Burnsy.
I'm just taking a massive rucksack. Kidding.
Just Burnsy, before you go in, I just want to pick up on Fletcher's point there and just quickly pay tribute to everybody at the club, because they do a phenomenal job. They're not the biggest team, but they work so hard, and it's not always easy with things that get thrown at them, curveballs from left, right, centre, and Turkey as well. But they do a phenomenal job. Some of the social media stuff that they put out is absolutely fantastic, and they do it with love, they do it with care, and they do it with passion. And I think there's so many, I can't name them all, but they do behind the scenes. There's so many that work their fingers to the bone to give fans as much access as possible, and they're brilliant with the media, with myself and the BBC as well. And they go to the ends of the world to try and help the fans get the best they can from the club that they love. So I just want to say thank you to everybody at Hull City, because this is the players, Louis Coyle, they get all the credit, the gaffer, the staff, but the team behind the team are the ones that also deserve a huge amount of credit. They never get the credit, they don't seek the credit, but they deserve a doff of the hat, because they are fantastic, and the work they do, it doesn't always get noticed, it doesn't always get the credit it deserves. But yeah, thank you from the bottom of our hearts to the club, because this is as much for them as it is for the fans. Now, Burnsy.
Yeah, here. I think the thing for me is what it does for the city. It puts the city of Hull back on the world stage. People become aware of it again, and I think they're in a better place than last time to work with the council and all the various bodies and the football club, and really make it zing as best they can for everybody involved in it, not just for the football club, but for the whole economy of the city. And you've got, what was the recent article saying Hull was one of the places to visit in the world in 2026 if you were a tourist. Well, now you've got the added attraction of a Premier League football club. So I'm just for the opportunity to bring to the city as well as to the football club, and well done to everybody involved in it. But let's seize the opportunity as a city as well as a football club. And can we talk transfers on the next 1904 club? I've got a list of names. We'll do that. There are no inside information, but I just want to throw them out there on the next. Yeah,
we'll definitely do that. Final word to Prutts from Leipzig in what will be his final appearance on the podcast before we sack him off and bring in Michael Dawson. Go on, Prutts.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you can listen to Daw for an hour, you've got a stronger fortitude than I. I'd say. And that comes from a place of complete love and affection for that big Labrador of a man.
That's the greatest dog reference you could ever give to
him. He never calms down. I echo everything that you said. It's been a joy doing this. We've talked at some stages when it's been pretty desperate, hasn't it? And for a team that we pointed the finger at, quite rightly so, last season, that was really quite timid in a lot of respects. The transformation has been unbelievable to see. And being able to watch it from my quote-unquote professional vantage point has been a real pleasure, getting over to the MKM and being able to do stuff on site and seeing familiar faces. It's that strange thing as you get older, isn't it? The affection and affinity for where you're born and brought up becomes stronger. I left there at 16, never lived there again. Yet, as your parents get older and family members get older and life goes on, you that love for the place comes back. Before that's the semi-final, I'd got there a bit earlier, and I've probably bored you with this before, but geographically, my dad's mum lived across the road from where the MKM is. I went to school behind it. He grew up on Hessel Road. My mum was more Ferriby based. My great aunt and my grandma are buried in the cemetery across the road from the train tracks that run behind Hull City. So I bobbed in to see the old girls, give a quick wave and check how they were. Then went over to do the game, and then you see lots of familiar faces there. It just breathes something in you and kind of fills you up again, to Nick Fletch's phrase of what that city is, because it does get a lot of flack. And I've in discussions around where I've been in my professional life, there's always that kind of that people's perceptions of what Hull is, and it feels like, not just because of the football club and the people that are there, but as you get older, you fall back in love with that place that knew you when you were tiny and sets you on the road to wherever you go in life. And seeing the success for good people there has just been super heartwarming. Football's a brutal industry, and football clubs can be tricky places at times, but what they managed to do on the pitch has just been a joy to watch. And the days that come against Man United, Man City, against Chelsea, against Liverpool, against Arsenal are thoroughly deserved. The romance has got to be balanced out with real hard-headed decision-making, so that romance carries on into the years that come. But I've just loved it for everyone involved and for the city. And I just wish everyone all the very, very best, because it's been one hell of a ride, and you get the feeling, hopefully, that it's only just starting.
Absolutely. Now we've all gushed. Yeah, well said. Now we've all gushed and got emotional. We'll call it a day. But apologies that we've kind of run over normal time. But I'm sure you welcome it.
I think it's extenuating circumstances, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. Well, you've got a job to do. You've got a Conference League final to go.
I've got a game. I completely forgot I've got a game. Yes. No, I've been making little notes as we've been going on. I mean, Ian Wright still plays for Palace, doesn't he? Is it him and Brighty up top? That'll be all right. Start and work back and be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we've got plenty of guests coming up. We've got some fantastic guests coming up over the next few weeks. So the podcast doesn't stop because it's the summer. It's just the beginning. I'm now off back to my cupboard where I've got to sit and write another 55 stories for our 48-page supplement that comes out next week. So it's going to be a memorable piece of work. So do go and buy it, please, because then I can have a holiday in the summer. Burnsy, it's been a pleasure to work with you all season, dear. I know how much this promotion has meant to you and being back involved. So thank you for all your help all season, and we look forward to having you back on over the summer.
I enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the company. It's been a great crack, and thank you for involving me. See you later,
Fletch. Absolutely, Fletch, with your whole t-shirt on. Love that. Thank you so much for popping by.
No worries. I'll be back for the Carabao Cup second round, given the number of appearances I make a season.
Steve, thank you so much for being with us, and it was I loved hearing you do your introductions at Wembley. If you've not got the video, I'll send it you.
Oh, please do. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, if you've got one. Yeah, thank you.
Prutts, enjoy the cup final.
I shall enjoy your summer, everybody, and I'm looking forward to listening to Burns' list of targets.
Yeah. And KB in the bucket hat that she's not taken off since Wembley. Take it off because I can smell it from here.
I can't take it. It's hiding how bad my hair is in this heat. So I'm not.
It's good.
Thanks, everybody. We will be back again soon. Up the Premier League Tigers.